Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The rain falls for everyone. The rain falls indiscriminately. When it rains on everything. It rains on weeds, it rains on bushes, it rains on grass, it rains on animals, it rains on man. It rains on everything that is on the earth beneath it. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't give more rain to a good man than to a bad man. It doesn't give more rain to a small tree than a big tree. It just rains. If we are to become a true human being, we must learn to act like the rain. We must learn to be able to give equally towards all, to be kind towards all, to be generous towards all, to be loving towards all. There's a story of a man who was a miser, and he had a bag of gold that he buried in the woods a short distance from his house in a place where he thought nobody could see. And every day towards the evening, he would go to the spot where he buried it. He would take out his bag of gold and he would count all of the pieces and he would put them all back and rebury it. A man saw him go out into the woods one day, followed him at a distance, and saw him unbury his treasure and count it. That evening, when the man left, the man who saw him went to the place where he buried his gold, uncovered it, and took it. The next day, the miser went back to that same spot, and he unburied, looking for his bag of gold. It wasn't there, and he became distraught. He began to scream, began to pull his hair. He had lost his fortune, everything that was important to him. Someone down the road a ways heard the screaming, went to see what it was, and saw the man in a distraught state and asked him what was wrong. And he said, I had a bag of gold buried here, and it was stolen. And the man said, well, why did you keep it here? Why didn't you keep it in your house so that whenever you needed some money, you could spend it and you could use it on behalf of yourself and whatever situation arose that needed money? He said, it never occurred to me to spend it. I wouldn't spend this money under any circumstances. This is my treasure. And the man looked and he saw the hole in the ground and he saw a big rock sitting next to it. He took the rock and he threw it in the hole. And he said, your treasure has the same value as that rock that I just threw in the hole. Unless your treasure is spread around, it does absolutely no good. And each of us has within us a treasure. Each of us has within us what Allah has given us. Yet, how many of us actually take this treasure that is given to us by Allah and spread it through the world? God has given us the ability to have compassion, but is our compassion hidden within us? And is our compassion only used for ourselves? Allah has given us the ability to be merciful, but is our mercy hidden within us? Or do we use it to spread out around the world? In our own way, without knowing it and without really considering it, we are capable of becoming misers. If we don't take what God has given us and share it with the world, we are misers. The greatest gifts that we have are the gifts that Allah gives us, the gifts that Allah instilled in us. And He instilled in us mercy, compassion, kindness, love, justice. We have to bring these out of ourselves and bring them into the world so that they can be used in the world, that they can do good in the world, that they can assist in the world. And if we don't do that, we are in fact burying the treasures that Allah gives us. Each of us has a mind, and this mind is often described as the monkey mind. It just repeats what it sees and repeats what it does. At the station of intellect, which is the station that deals with the elemental forces and the elemental reality, which is illusion, that surrounds us. Each of us knows deep within us that everything that we see that's elemental is going to disappear. Each of us knows that there's a time limit for everything that's elemental. But knowing all this, man still worships the elements. Man still worships that which has been created as opposed to the creator. Man makes idols out of money, out of gold, out of women, out of cows, out of the various animals, and worships them. Man pours milk and honey over his idols as if he would give them a sense of sweetness and a smell that is pleasurable. Man lights candles around these idols or turns lights on around these idols to bring light where there is no light, to create a mind fantasy around things that are not what they appear to be. The mind is capable of creating all kinds of fantasies, and then we worship the fantasies that we create, or we worship the ideas that we create. People would ask Bawa a question, and he would give an answer, and the person who heard the answer wouldn't like the answer. So the response was, the translator must have gotten the question wrong. And he would re-ask the question, and Bawa would give the same answer. And the person would say, we're still having trouble with the translator getting the question across right. And he would do it a third time. And at the third time, Bawa would then say to them, do whatever you want. And then they would think that that meant that their original inclination was the appropriate inclination, and they would follow up on that inclination. The mind is so powerful that it will create answers to its own dilemmas, and these answers don't necessarily have any basis in truth or in reality. They just have basis in the mind. And usually what the mind is doing is it is giving answers that serve the mind and serve what the mind considers your own best self-interest. It doesn't understand wisdom. It doesn't understand the truth of what is best for you. It just understands what it wants and what it thinks it needs. And therefore, if it somehow acts towards fulfilling of desire of yours, then it thinks that that is an appropriate answer. People believe that if they sit still and close their eyes, they are meditating. But all of the animals that live inside of them are still roaming around and still controlling their thoughts and still controlling their desires. Until that's done away with, truth can't be found. There is a precondition to finding reality. There is a precondition to entering into wisdom. And the precondition is that in order to travel the straight path, you have to kill the animals inside of you. You have to kill the monkey mind inside of you. And how do you kill the monkey mind inside of you? You kill it by not giving it what it wants. The monkey wants to make you bigger. The monkey wants to fulfill its desires. The monkey wants to swallow the world. The monkey wants everything that it sees or smells or hears. The monkey wants to gather all this and hold on to it. And in holding on to it, the monkey believes that its desires will be fulfilled. People go through life in this manner, chasing the mind concepts that come into their head as if there will be some sort of satisfaction by doing that, that there will be some sort of peace by doing that. And as you can see, walking through the world or watching the news or reading a newspaper or being involved in any of the social media, there's very little peace in the world. Mostly, there are people who are dissatisfied with their situations, people who are looking to alter their situations. Many of us have known that the things that we were told by people around us only had a little bit of truth in them, but mostly they related to the world and they related to what it is that we desire within the world and how to fulfill those desires. For those who have turned towards the straight path, they have found that within the world, there doesn't seem to be satisfaction, but they don't know how to find that satisfaction. Allah, in His mercy, has sent prophets and kutubs to bring about answers to the dilemma that man has about finding true peace, about finding true contentment, about finding a place of stillness within him. We need to understand that in this illusory world that we live in, change is constant. Change never ceases. life comes, death comes, life comes, death comes, birth comes, and destruction comes. It's a constant cycle that's going on every instant, over and over and over. God has created in this world elemental forces that control each other, that keep everything else in check, so the arrogance of them can't overwhelm anything. Fire is controlled by water. Air is controlled by the trees and the mountains. Earth is controlled by earthquakes. The mouse is controlled by the cat. The snake is controlled by the mongoose. The chicken is controlled by the fox. Everything is controlled by something else. The tiger controls the bull. Everything has something greater than it in this world, and there is a conflict. How do we escape the conflict? How do we get out of this circle of destruction? To find what is without destruction, we have to look outside of this physical world. To find what is without destruction, we have to find a new way of approaching things. This is hard. This is hard because the mind wants to keep you under its control. The mind wants to keep you in obedience to it and to its ideas. And Satan comes to you through the mind. Satan whispers in your ear, and it enters into your mind, and your mind creates ideas based upon these witnesses, upon these whisperings. We need to somehow stop this mind from working in the way that it does. And how do we do that? Well, there are lots of methods. We can do it through prayer. We can do it through zikr. We can do it through fikr, which is concentrating deeply on God. And the most direct method is to change our qualities. The mind functions as long as we have certain qualities. And if we kill those qualities, which are the animal qualities within us, then the monkey that is the mind will disappear on its own. So we need to enter into a new paradigm of existence. We need to give a new set of priorities for ourselves in this world. How do we know when we have actually entered into this new set of priorities? How can we assess ourselves to know that we are moving in the right direction, or we are merely repeating what we've done before over and over and over again? Peace is salam. Salam is a name of God. Salam is a quality of God. Salam is a quality that doesn't get destroyed. It's a quality that is eternal. Do we have peace in our being, or are we in a constant state of doubt and anxiety? If we are in a constant state of doubt and anxiety, we have more to work on. We have more to do. Where does this anxiety come from? Where does stress come from? Where do all these difficulties come from? They come from our relationship with this illusory world and the perception that what we have will disappear, or what we want, we won't get. That conflict creates for us all of the difficulties in our life. Now, there are natural difficulties that we can't do much about. You have your physical body to deal with and all of the complications that the physical body can bring about. But if you understand the nature of existence, you also understand the nature of the physical body and the fact that it is the way it is because it has a time limit and it's going to disappear. We need to step now into the area of understanding the difference between religion and the Ketub, between religion and wisdom. Religion will take you to the level of intellect, and religion will give you all that is necessary to control yourself within the world so that you don't commit violations on this worldly plane. And allows you to understand right and wrong, what is permissible and what is forbidden, what you can do and what you can't do. But there's also a part of you that wants to know more than what's right and wrong. There's a part of you, and a part of all of us, that wants to know about reality. And what we will find is that if we struggle to find reality with our mind, it is a struggle that will not obtain any satisfaction, because the mind cannot deal with wisdom. The Ketub brings a level into this world beyond the mind. It brings wisdom into the world. So the Ketubiyat comes to unveil what's been veiled by religions, to open up what's been closed by religions, to make unified what's been separated by religions, to break open what's been closed by religions. The religions keep you in a box and keep you separate. The Ketub says there are no boxes. There are no separations. There are no differences. There is just unity among all beings and all creations, and Allah treats everyone equally and accepts surrender from everyone. And what is this surrender that Allah accepts? And what is this that will break through the mind and its connection to the world to take you into the realm of light? How's that happen? It happens by each of us looking at and understanding the qualities of compassion and tolerance and justice and love and kindness, and understanding the qualities that are Allah. Now, not only do we have to understand these qualities, we have to bring them into our being. And it's not enough to just bring them into our being. We have to bring them into action. Now, if we truly bring those qualities into our being and into action, the monkey of the mind will leave on its own. The attitudes that are worldly, the attitudes of greed and anger and need and desire, once we are overwhelmed by God's qualities, those qualities will leave us because there's no room for them. They can't subsist simultaneously with God's qualities. They can't exist in the same being that has God's qualities. Why is it that when we sat with the teacher of wisdom, the Ketub, the Jnani Sheikh, the Sheikh of wisdom, why is it that we didn't see arrogance? Because it wasn't there. Why is it that we didn't see selfishness? Because it wasn't there. Why didn't we see jealousy? Because it wasn't there. And why wasn't it there? Because he was not attached to the world. He was not attached to the desire for the things in the world. His needs were different than the needs of people of the world. He was here, but not from here. And he knew it. Now, all of us are here, but not from here, but we don't know it. And that's the big difference. He knew where he was from. We don't know where we are from. And we are in the process of trying to find out where we are from. And this is the path that we're on, the path to return home, the path to learn the truth, the path to find out who we really are. Where did we come from and where are we going to? Now, when we ask ourselves these same questions, we need to see what are the answers that we have for ourselves. If our intention, if our path is to become very wealthy, or to become very famous, or to become very powerful, we can easily see, if we understand and have a little bit of wisdom, that our path is taking us to the circle of destruction, to the circle of repetition, to the circle of coming and going, to the circle of birth and death, to the circle of rebirth and rebirth and rebirth. If we want to escape from that circle of destruction, from that circle of constant rebirth, then we have to lose our fascination with the trivial pursuits that we have in this world. That fascination ties us to this world. Bawa used to talk about men and their sex obsessions. And he used to say, a cow has sex twice a year. Can't a man at least reach the level of a cow? The point being that we are so driven by our worldly passions, our worldly desires, and our worldly needs that we don't find satisfaction in them. Think about this. If you have to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again every day or every other day, doesn't that mean that whatever you've done in the past days didn't bring you satisfaction, didn't bring you a release, didn't bring you some kind of culmination and contentment? So if you aren't finding culmination and contentment, if you don't have enough of this or you don't have enough of that, why don't you look in a place where you can find enough? And that place where you can find enough is only with Allah. And with Allah, you can find contentment and you can find satisfaction. Allah's treasures are greater than any treasures within this world. What Allah can give us is greater than anything than we can obtain in this world. But we don't see it. We don't see it because we haven't entered into wisdom. We're still stuck in the intellect. We're stuck at the lower levels of consciousness. In order to be able to see truth, we have to be able to see beyond our physical self. In order to see truth, we have to be able to see beyond the physical world and the physical pursuits in this world. In order to find truth, we have to be able to go beyond the physical satisfactions of this world. One of the big lessons in sitting in the room with a sheikh is that you are cloistered from the world. The world is like separated for a short time, but also you learn that there are satisfactions that are outside of the world. When the sheikh talks and you get lost in his words, all of a sudden the attachment to the world is lost. The desires for the world are lost because his words of wisdom and the profundity of those words take you outside of yourself and your own needs, take you outside of the worldly needs that you are constantly trying to satisfy. So when we look at ourselves, we have to look at what is it that we're after? What is it that we're chasing? What is it that we're trying to catch? And then when we finally catch it, every once in a while, we have to ask ourselves, is it worthwhile? Does it have meaning for us? Or is this just another stop on the way to another chase, looking for another satisfaction that when we find it, we're going to find out is hollow? You know, if you're constantly chasing bubbles, every time you catch a bubble, as soon as you touch it, it disappears. It can't subsist in the touch of your hand. And it's like that with everything in the world. It can't subsist. It doesn't have a time span that is eternal to it. It disappears. And we need to start going after things that don't disappear. And what's interesting, and what we have to become cognizant of, we have to understand, and we have to see, is that we can't see the things that don't disappear. All the things we see are the things that disappear, but the things that we can't see don't disappear. And that's one of the paradoxes of this existence. Here we are in a body. Here we are with all these senses that interact with the world. And yet all of these things that we interact with our senses, disappear. So we need to be able to interact with that which can't be seen, that which can't be measured, that which can't be defined in the way we define elemental things. Once we understand that, then we begin to cross over from intellect into wisdom. And if we can't make that adjustment, if we're stuck in the world of form, we will never enter into the world of reality and into the eternal world. Those who don't understand this will constantly be making rules and regulations about form of every single imaginable type, and they will become severe enforcers of elemental requirements, severe enforcers of elemental methodologies for attaining something that's outside of the elemental. Bawa's, one of his prime examples of this was, you can't reach God by either shaving or growing your hair. Yet you still have people everywhere growing their hair and shaving their hair for exactly the same reason. And neither of those reasons works. We can't make things happen within the eternal world by thinking that the grasping of things in the elemental world will make it happen. There are groups who want to recreate ancient times. They want to wear their clothes in a certain way, or they want to wear their turbans in a certain way. This isn't going to bring you closer to God. What made those times special, and we're talking about the times of the prophets, was that there was a prophet within the midst of people. And the prophet is what conveyed to them the truth, and being in his presence and being in his resonance brought to them this sense of hyper reality, a reality outside of this world, a reality that was eternal, that had no end, that had no time limit. And this is what you get when you're with a ketub. You get this sense of being transcendent to the world, transcendent to what's around us, where you get to interact with the qualities that are transcendent, and the interaction with those qualities and the healing quality of that interaction, the healing quality of that resonance, the comfort that it gives you by being in its presence becomes more important than anything else in the world. All of a sudden, your bank account doesn't matter. All of a sudden, your status doesn't matter. All of a sudden, your titles don't matter. Your power doesn't matter. What matters is the contentment that you receive by being within the resonance of reality, by being within the resonance of God's qualities. That becomes what matters. So, what matters to us individually now? What do we think about? What are our priorities? What do we hold as important, and what do we hold as not important? Make a checklist. If what you hold that is important is in the world and only in the world, then your progress on the straight path is limited. But if you have learned to be detached from those things, if you've learned to kill the pictures in your mind so that they no longer become your obsessions, they no longer become what you spend your life trying to accomplish, then you know that you're going in the right direction. So we have to stop pouring milk and honey on idols, and we need to start praying towards that which is unseen. God is without form, but that which we cannot see has more impact on us than that which we can see. And that which we cannot see are his qualities: mercy, compassion, the duty that he extends towards all of mankind, the work that he does on behalf of each and every one of us, the giving nature of our Lord, the merciful nature of our Lord, and the merciful and giving nature, the generosity of all the ones who do his work in this world. Understand that generosity. Take that generosity within yourself and make that generosity part of yourself. Make that mercy part of yourself, and don't hold on to it. Activate it, and bring it into the world. And when that happens, Allah, who is without limit and who is not diminished no matter how much he gives, will give you more. The more that you give out, the more that you will get. If you give mercy, mercy will be given to you. If you give compassion, compassion will be given to you. If you give love, love will be given to you. If you give kindness, kindness will be given to you. An endless stream of God's qualities will be given to you. And as those enter your being, contentment will overwhelm you. Gratitude will overwhelm you. The gift of tears will come to our eyes because of the final understanding that God loves us and God does for us. And we can also do his work in this world. And that's how we become the Prince of God, the ones who are his friends. May it be that we all begin to understand the truth. May it be that we all let go of all of the lies that we've swallowed throughout our lives, and that we attach ourselves to reality, attach ourselves to wisdom, attach ourselves to that which takes us beyond this illusory world and takes us outside of the grave, beyond the grave. Your religion will only take you up to the grave. All of your belief systems in this world as to what's important, your titles, will leave you at the grave. We need to believe in something that is beyond the grave. And what's beyond the grave is our Lord and his light and the truth that we are part of upon recognizing it. So we have to recognize it, we have to incorporate it, we have to be it, and we have to act it. And then he will give his grace towards us and pull us towards him. Allah can only accept and will only accept that which is unto him. So those with his qualities are accepted by him. So it is for us to enter that state where we are his qualities, so that we can be accepted and incorporated into him, taken back to the light, taken back to the truth, taken back to where those qualities exist, as opposed to being drawn to the earth with the opposite set of qualities. This is our choice. This is the path that's been given to every single man in this world, no matter what the name of their religion is, no matter what the name of their prophet is, no matter what the name of their teachers are. This is the choice, and it's open to everybody. And Allah accepts everyone who has taken on his qualities and surrenders to him with his own qualities. May that happen for each and every one of us. Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.